Hey everybody, this is Joe. I'm coming to you from my Houston, Texas garden. I'm in zone 9A, and I thought we'd do a little check-in in the sort of end of September. We've been having August heat wave kind of weather for another couple of days. It's been 100 degrees for a couple of days. And so the Just Keep It Alive theme continues. I thought I would start with a don't make my mistake. Sometimes I have those. And here's another one. I decided, because my fantastic profusion zinnias were starting to cover the driveway, these are profusion cherry bicolor, and they're super pretty. They were a foot and a half into the edge of the driveway, so they were looking a little goofy, so I trimmed them about a week ago, and they just look so bad. I had no idea that really, it seems like the blooming edge is sort of always coming out, and so I trimmed that off, and they have not recovered. It's been at least a week since I did it, maybe even 10 days. So beware trimming your profusion zinnias, at least in the heat of the summer. That was not a great plan. Anyway, I thought we'd do a quick check-in on the seeds that I've got going. The craziest thing have been these pipe vine seeds. This is the Watsonii version, and almost every single one of those seeds came up, and then I sort of pricked out a bunch from here, and they had such tiny little roots that I stopped doing, and I was worried I was going to kill them, and then after that I must have sort of disturbed, and I got new ones, but they look fantastic. I mean, this has only been maybe a month, and I've got the ones that I pricked out over there, and they're all fine, but I feel like I really kind of set them back as far as progress by pricking them out. So I'm going to leave them in here, you know, I don't know, for a while. They seem perfectly happy, so I'm going to let them be for now. And my little zinnias, these are just zinnias, that pink cactus zinnia that I love so much, and I just saved some of my own seeds and put them in here. I wasn't sure. I kind of picked the seed, the dead-headed a little sooner than I should have, and I was worried that I didn't let the seeds ripen enough, but clearly they are, they're doing okay. Here comes another little baby right there. And then the sunflowers, I don't know, I would have thought this one looks like it's finally getting its act together, but, and of course the basil's crazy. I keep trying to give that away. And then the zinnia Northern Lights, this is the second batch of them that I've planted that not a single one has come up. I've got pansy clear crystals coming up, and they've nicely popped up. Not every one, maybe one or two, one in each pot, where I probably planted 5 or 6 in each pot, so I'm not impressed, but at least I've got some coming up. And then the King Henry violas have come up great. They were so easy to grow last year. You can see how many have come up, and they were super easy to grow. And then I've got, again, the pattern continues. The violas have done well. The pansies, these are, oh no, this is coreopsis. These are pansy called Frizzle Zizzle, and oh my goodness, they were gorgeous, but I've just got one coming up and here, but all the violas are coming up faster. And then this is that pipe vine again. You know, they're fine, but the ones over that I just left in their flat are really thriving. I'm starting to wonder if all these perennis milkweeds are going to come up at all. I'm just on the verge of just throwing in the towel on those. I don't know why not a single one of them has come up. I put a bunch of those little zinnias that I grew from seed about a month ago. I've gotten them in the ground, and they're probably They said pinch back when they're 12 inches high. Well, I'm feeling like if it's already falling over like that, maybe I ought to be pinching them back. And then there are a couple of bigger things that came up. This is a survivor from the Great Flood that didn't get washed away. And then here, the same thing. These are the ones that I direct seeded. And then here are my little coneflowers that have all come up from direct seed. And then I've kind of found it's been interesting. I planted coneflowers, the Echinacea pallida, in the spring, and then I kind of thought a lot of them had died. But here's one. They're real distinctive. They have much skinnier leaves. There's one that's popped back up. Here's another one that's popped back up here. I think, well, where was one? This one back here with those little leaves, that's Echinacea pallida. So they've kind of popped up, and I don't know whether they sort of died down in the heat and came back, or the roots were still alive, but I'm real excited about that. And then I really trimmed back pretty hard these pretty parasols, took them down, and they've got new growth and are getting ready to bloom some more. So I'm really happy about that. They were really struggling. I think a lot of the problem was that all these giant zinnias fell over on top of them, and I didn't notice until it was kind of too late. And then I love this pot still. It's still going strong. This gomphrena is enormous, and it was just crazy big like that when I bought it, and I'm just super pleased with how it just remains wonderful. And then I'm very appreciative of this sweet potato vine, which has completely covered up the dead buddleia underneath. That was helpful of it. And then in here I've got this is a salvia. I've forgotten the name of it. Hot pink salvia, and that I added another one to try to cover up this hole. And then I've got frog fruit all in here, and I probably should cut back some of this sweet potato vine. And there's a big little blue stem grass back there that's a native Texas grass, and it's not very happy, and I've let it get covered up. So that's my bad that looks so terrible. And I'm just loving this gomphrena. I've just never grown this before, and I think it's really sweet. All right, let's see what else I can show you, and I try to make a quick video today, because my last one was so long. So I'm still working on getting things fertilized on a regular basis and trying to get things to bloom again for me, even though it's really hot. And so, and I've had some coneflowers die in here, but I've got a couple. You can see it's blooming a little better, but my plan is all these coneflowers, of course, I talked about in my last video, they're all too close. Everything's too close to this. So I'm gonna dig up those coneflowers and move them. This autumn sage has never looked great. It's never been happy, and so I'm kind of thinking I'll tear it out and put coneflowers in here. I've got coneflowers in the front I'm gonna move as well. And then this Souvenir de Sainte Anne just went crazy this week. I just deadheaded it a few minutes ago. Now these flowers do not last more than about 2 days, and they only look really beautiful like first thing in the morning. But it never gets black spot. It always looks pretty, and I just cut it as small as I want, short as I want, and it's just stayed compact and blooms really nicely. I was noticing that my little favorite threadleaf coreopsis was not really happy, and so I cut a lot of it back, and I probably need, you can see all the black on their spent flower heads, and what I need to do is trim it back, but I trimmed it back a little bit, and I've already got new growth coming from the bottom, and I've trimmed this back. I think what I need to do, maybe when it cools off next week, is to just really cut it back hard and see if I can get a nice flush of bloom in the fall. There's Mrs. Doubtfire who wants to say hello. Hello, pumpkin. Hello. one thing I've noticed about the Salvia Big Blue is that I feel like once it has bloomed and maybe wilts, gets too hot in the heat of the day, all the flowers poop out and then they're not really coming back. And so I think I'm gonna have to deadhead this. You can see, there's a big fat bumblebee. You can see how many spikes I've got, but I think I'm gonna have to deadhead that. Other salvias, it has seemed to me, and maybe I'm imagining this, have a lot of longer lasting flowers before they start looking really ratty and really need to be deadheaded. Of course, these are still going strong, and these are the ones that the seeds came up, and so I was real pleased about that. The sad hole over here, I cut back just to the absolute ground all of that blue Salvia uliginosa, and of course it just looks terrible, but it's alive under there, and in a couple weeks it'll be popping right back up. And then this is inland sea oats, which I just love, and it's a butterfly host as well. And so it's nice that I've cut this down, trimmed it back. I can see those, and they're just starting to sort of turn golden seed heads, and it looks so pretty back there. It makes me want more of that, just as a something in the garden, another grass. Let's see if I can get there we go. Now I have my mystery plant that I left. I know it's not a hydrangea, even though the hydrangea, it looks like hydrangea leaves. This one got all wrinkly and weird, but it seems to be, it is blooming first. And I'm leaving it. Look at all these little white flowers. And these bigger ones that are not so terrible a looking plant, it's the same plant though, have all got seed spikes. And if anybody knows what this is, it's got flowers all along it. Look at that. So I don't know what that is, but it's got little white flowers, and the bees need as much as they can get. And this is where all of that obedient plant died out unexpectedly, inexplicably. Here's one of the things that I'm trying to do, this is new, is that I'm realizing that I ought to turn my pots, like a quarter turn or something every week, or because they're really beautiful on one side where they get more sun, and they're terrible looking on the back side. And so you can see this is beautiful and fluffy over here, and it's pretty stunted right here. And so I've just turned it, and every week or so, maybe I'm trying to do feeding Friday like Monty Don does in his garden. And so I think maybe I'll be do feeding Friday and also turning Tuesday or something, but just to get them an even amount of sun, and so they're pretty all the way around. And I've been doing this for a little while, a couple of weeks on this plant, but you can still see this side is much prettier, but I keep turning it. So now this is the rattier side, and it's just getting turned a little bit. The other thing I've been doing is clipping the coleus back and trying to make cuttings. I've had a little bit of success, but not a lot, but a little. Here's my giant, all the things that died, I got taken out after the flood, the sprinkler flood. I found some really cool tall pentas, and I found them in hot pink. I need to trim them back. I just put them in the ground the other day. And then I found some pale pink ones here. And so I've still got room for other things. And I did end up cutting this. I think I'll move it or just dig it up and get rid of it, this Salvia amistad. But I went ahead, I figured I've got enough things for the bees and the hummingbirds in the yard that it was all right if I cut off a bunch of flowers. But that's the flower on amistad. So that's going to come back and look nice, I think, for the fall. Oh, Miss Stoutfire is looking very sad, very melodramatic. And then it was super fun. I got some Gulf Coast penstemon blooming. I have had everything else, all the other Gulf Coast penstemon looks kind of terrible. But this one particular plant just looks super pretty. The other ones I feel like I'm just trying to keep alive. The other thing I did this week was I dug up our olive tree from the ground. It was in a pot, it didn't do well. It was in the ground, it didn't do well. And I bought a bigger, nicer pot and tried to stake it up. I've got a big, heavy bag of crushed granite on there to sort of hold the roots down so it doesn't fall over. But it didn't seem to miss a beat. I just plopped it in, dug it up, stuck it in here. It was 100 degrees outside when I did it, and it didn't seem to mind at all. So I'm hoping that it stays nice. Here are those wonderful ivy geraniums that we got the leaves to go from yellow to green. A little bit of yellow on them, but look now, it has started to bloom, and it's got, look at this, here, there, all of these buds everywhere. And this is an amazing, it's such a beautiful flower. I bought it at a place outside of Houston, and the guy there was like, those sold out in one day. He had that for a couple of hours before I came in and bought it. And he said, yeah, I've sold like 20 today, and it was only noon. And then this one's looking really pretty and is blooming really nicely as well. Well, I thought before I went for the day on my slightly shorter video, I would pop up and take a look, because I'm getting ready to plant some in some soil. Our little succulents. Of course, the cat came and slept on them again, and so I had to sort of rearrange. And I misted them. I got this just a little bit wet, but there are some things with some little roots on them. And this one, I thought would be a good example. It doesn't look terrific. It looks a little bit a little stressed, but it's already got little roots growing all along the side. And so I think in the next week or so, I will put that in the ground. And you can see some here have little plants already growing on them. This one's got like one little leaf, but I think it's got lots of roots, right? And the vermiculite stuck to them. So I think they're maybe ready to have a little soil. And then here are my 2 cuttings of coleus. I had a bunch, they all got roots in the little jar of water I had in the kitchen. And then when I planted them, they seemed fine. And then I think maybe I kept them too wet and most of them rotted. But these, I think maybe will actually make plants, but we'll see. Well, thanks for having a look at my September garden, which looks pretty good. But I sure am gonna turn the sprinklers on as soon as I turn this camera off. I hope you guys have a great weekend and a great week next week. Everybody in Florida, stay safe from that hurricane. We here on the Gulf Coast of Texas are thinking about you. Bye-bye.